DMs too.
Oh.
Nobody can hear shit.
Nobody heard any of that. That's
Back to
lovely.
the beginning.
This is the beauty of live. So now we got a gap. How long was that gap? Uh, Hopefully not too bad.
Just shut it
Anyway,
down, start it all over, throw it out. It's fine.
what was the you remember the Bill O'Reilly clip that went super viral? F it, we'll do it live. And it was turned into like a techno song and all that. Anyway.
Oh yeah, that's one of the great like moments in internet history. We'll do it live, yo. Fantastic.
Yeah, I had to,
We'll
it
do it
was
live.
made to like trance music and techno and all. It was hilarious, dubstep. Anyway, re-welcome everyone. Sorry about that. I had us muted, so now we got to start all over. Eric Odom here with Prosperia, joined by Kripman, Prosperia, and Blano from Outer Space Society. We had a great chat. The video's over, guys. Sorry about that.
It's done. We already talked about everything.
Yeah, we'll post a summary in Discord, and you guys can ask your questions there. But thank you for being patient for us being late, and thank you for being patient through no sound. But as I was saying, when you couldn't hear it, it's great to be back on our Tuesday night live streams. I know that all of you have been really patient with us as we've kind of geared back into these, and what a great one to jump back into with Outer Space Society. Of course, Blano here representing. And we were talking about Halions, which is some of my favorite art in the CNFT space, and how I've changed my PFP to a Halion because you just every once in a while you find that NFT that is just something you love, you know. And I just love the look of his eyes. He has headphones on, and he has like a silver jacket with Outer Space Society on it. I mean, really good art. When you zoom into that, it is just really good. So we've always been fans of Outer Space Society. A lot of our members were there for the mint, and I think we've started to see some of the fun we can have between the two projects the other night when we kind of impromptu invaded your galaxy, which was a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for being in here. So Blano, how's things going, man? What's the scoop? What's the update? Tell us, if for those listening too, what is Outer Space Society? Oh, we can't hear you. So we may have another layer of mute here. I know I can hear Kripman.
Just layers and layers. It's an onion. It's an onion of technical issues and professional streamers, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like every week we figure one thing out, and then, hey, at least it's not as
It's always one step forward, two steps back. It doesn't matter what's getting done. That's just the way of things these days.
let's see. Blano, I think it's in the actual interview because it shows that you've muted yourself. So it's going to be somewhere in that interview screen.
In the like eCam screen,
Yeah.
there should be a button for it. Oh,
Oh, here we go. Maybe this.
Yep.
We
I
got
hear
him.
you now.
You can hear me?
I can.
Oh, maybe. Okay, good. Sorry.
It's all right. We go through something every week, man. It's all part of the show.
Yeah. All right. But in any case, Outer Space Society, it's a project that Alex and Leo are two founders, a couple of young, good-looking German guys. They started out like wanting, like, they dipped their toe into NFTs and they really wanted to get into fashion and specifically like hypewear, where you can kind of do real life clothing that has kind of a digital representation of itself on the blockchain. And so in order to kind of build a path to that, they got with the original artist, who was Aaron, and decided to make like an alien, because humans are boring, right? So they did like an alien collection of like fashion forward hypewear, with a path that we're walking towards slowly, of bringing many of those items to life in real life. And so the season 1 collection of the Halions is 5,555 aliens who all have that hypewear, just simple profile picture like style where you've got kind of from the torso up. We also have a collection of our Space Turian cards, which is 1,500 of those that act sort of as a whitelist token with a few other fringe benefits. And we've got a standard edition of that and a founder's edition of that. So yeah.
That makes so much sense when you talk about fashion, because when you really open up any of those Halions, it's so much more than a Halion face, you know. And that's, like I was saying earlier, the one with the super bright eyes, the jacket was crazy good. So there was obviously a lot of focus that went into the clothing, the fashion of the aliens. So very cool. So
their focus is on the fashion. Mine is like sci-fi. Like they pulled me in because of the aliens. So like I'm the guy that writes the lore and does all the nerdy stuff. Their focus is on the clothes, though they still like aliens and sci-fi too. But I'm the one that pulls us like real hardcore into the sci-fi nerdy world. So
yeah, you and I have definitely nerded out in in private message for sure. So for those of you, well, first of all, obviously we're here to talk about our joint project, which is Universal Conflict. If you haven't heard of it yet, definitely go to universalconflict.space. There's links there to the Prosperia and Outer Space Society Discord and both websites. So you can get into both communities from that website versus us sitting here trying to share a bunch of links with you. And there's going to be a lot more information coming too. But Universal Conflict, I saw some comments, I think it was yesterday, of did you guys just start planning this last week and pull it out of the blue? Absolutely not. I think we probably began this conversation 10 weeks ago, I want to say. And then we've had some collaboration before that too, between the two projects. So, Prosperia and Outer Space Society have been kind of teasing working together for probably 4 or 5 months, and Universal Conflict, now it didn't have a title 10 weeks ago, but that's when the conversation originally started. And I think probably one of the most common questions is why Prosperia that you hear, and for us, why Outer Space Society? I have my opinions, maybe Kripman has his take, but let's start with you, Blano. Why was this even a conversation 10 weeks ago of the two projects working together from your perspective?
I know, I would say, right, like we love, and we have a fair amount of overlap, I think, in our communities too. I think just from being like a Cardano NFT project and having a sci-fi theme, we kind of appeal to the same sort of audience. And we've seen a lot of really good community members from you guys, and then having people vouch for you even early on. We did the collab sort of thing where you named a district after us, District 4, and that was met really positively by our community. I think a lot of our community got into Prosperia specifically when you guys started and announced that District 4 thing. And I've had fun popping into your Discord. It's almost overwhelming how much stuff you guys have going on right there. And it's really cool. Like all the factions, and the factions themselves are almost like their own projects. So we've been thrilled with the people we've gotten fresh from you guys, and just the community at large, and everything that you guys do has such an awesome level of quality to it that for me, it was a no-brainer when you guys kind of came to us and it proposed it, right? That it was just like, of course, like, yeah, all in, like, let's go.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the factions. I saw this morning because I'm seeing their announcements. Like the factions don't come to Kripman or Bjorn or I and say, hey, here's what we're doing. They go make announcements, and that's where we see, so which is the way we want it. But I saw that Peacekeepers, who I know we have Max, the Playboy, and a few other Peacekeepers in there in chat right now, but they've been running this huge contest is like a treasure hunt with a bunch of other projects. So there's a faction in our project that's creating collaborations with other projects, with zero of our involvement, which is one of the coolest things ever. And they've got they're minting their own collections, and there's just so much going on there. But that has really been a grind for us to build that core. And we, Kripman and I, Bjorn, everybody's now Bjorn's, he just got a new PlayStation 5. B is on vacation, so we haven't seen him for a week. But we've got like this good tag team. Kripman's a night owl, although he's growing up, so he's starting to sleep a little more at night. But he and Bjorn are. I don't know about all that. Yeah, he and Bjorn are up all night. Well, for Bjorn, it's the middle of the day, and then I'm in there kind of throughout the day with Sayok and a few others, and we have grinded it out, for the better part of this year to build that core community that's kind of taken a life of its own. And with Outer Space Society, you guys have very much the same vibe in terms of, obviously the lore, which you and I talk a lot about, the story, the sci-fi, but also kind of there's not really big egos in our projects. And that's so key. I mean, I'm not going to name any single project, but I think you guys know, there's some big egos. So it's really hard to create these deep collaborations in some cases because someone wants to control something, or someone wants to, who's managing, who's in charge, and I don't think that's ever really been a part of our conversation. I think it's always been, what can everybody bring to the table and make sure that we do something really cool in art, but also really cool on the utility side and just good for the space altogether. And so it's been a really good vibe there. Kripman, do you have anything to add?
I think it makes a lot of sense for us to work together. Our teams, like you said, we gotta go way back. One of the very first interviews that we did on the Prosperia Twitter space was with the Outer Space Society before their Halions mint. We've been talking since way back when. So it was kind of a natural partnership for kind of what it is that we're aiming to do, which, if people don't really know, it's going to be like a card-based battle game centered around like the different armadas of ships. One of the things that I'm the most excited about is it really opens up the ability to kind of bring in like other collaborators who have, kind of similar vibes, because there's a lot of like sci-fi type stuff going on Cardano, and to kind of offer collaborations as like expansions to it. There's a lot of like headroom here. Like there's a lot of things that we can do with this as, yet another vector of like interaction with the community. So I'm really excited about it. And it makes a lot of sense to start with folks that we're familiar with so that we can kind of, figure out how we're going to integrate our projects. And then from there, how we're going to integrate, the larger Cardano ecosystem and try and onboard others. It's all about bringing communities together.
Definitely. So for everyone listening or watching on the replay, there's another thing that I wanted to address, and maybe Blano can speak to their side of it, but we all know that this is a very challenging time in crypto, just generally speaking, and really it peeves me when I see comments of, well, this is, you should have known better getting into crypto. Hey, if you own Facebook or, anything in the stock market, you're feeling, nobody is immune to what's happening around the world, but it's created these challenges and these difficulties for a lot of projects. And a very big part of the conversation when these two projects began having these talks is, how do we also include other collections for the project and make sure that we're adding value to those projects in terms of utility and what have you. And and it was kind of, both sides agreed that we wanted to use both the Space Churian card and the multipass, and that's why we came up with a plan to use both of those for whitelist, which has been good. I see Space Churian cards and multipasses moving on the secondary. That's great. but also Halions and Zeppers, those two collections being able to lend themselves to the mechanics on the utility side. And I think that's great too. And plus, we have things going on with Zeppers long term. I know Outer Space Society, you have things going on for Halions, but this is, it's such just a great, I don't want to say stopgap, but a great bridge to all the things both projects want to do long term, to create something that's not just this new thing out there. It's very much tied into both of our ecosystems and what we already have in existence. So what are your thoughts on that? And maybe tell us what is in the works for Halions too, for those who don't know.
Thing. Yeah. That was one of the big selling points that got me super excited about this to begin with. I'm a huge nerd and have been my entire life. So the card game aspect hit me like squarely where I live. Same with spaceships and space battling. I grew up playing the collectible card game for Star Wars and all kinds of other card games. So that hit me right away. And I think it's awesome. And I have a feeling that a lot of our community is going to respond to it as well. As far as what we have to look forward for Halion holders specifically, the nearest thing that we have, I guess the nearest thing we would have would be the drip box, which we've got some details coming out about that real soon. I think we've let it slip already that if you are a teleporter holder, which means you've assembled all the teleporter pieces, you can find details about that in our Discord if you're curious, that you'll get one. And also, if you are a Space Supreme Whalion, which means you hold at least 30 Halions, you'll be guaranteed to get one. Lesser tiers of holders will be able to get a chance at getting one. And details about that will be out very shortly here. And past that, we also have the Build Your Halion collection, which is kind of the utility, at least in part, to our Season 1 Halion collection. And based on the traits that you've collected from the Season 1 Halion collection, you'll be getting airdropped traits to the Build Your Halion collection. And this collection is brand new from the ground up. We have a new artist who's designing, everything, even the base layer of the Halion itself has been created from scratch. And you'll be getting airdropped traits in a sequence of airdrops. And then you can they're NFTs, so you can trade them, buy them, sell them as you please, just like with any NFT. And then there'll come a point once those airdrops have done that we'll allow you to send in your traits along with a Season 1 Halion to burn so that we don't dilute the supply. And then you'll get back a customized Halion of your own design, which is kind of cool when you have a sort of fashion-focused collection that you don't get, ensemble that you've, randomly assembled like rolling a dice to get yourself dressed in the morning. You can be a little bit more thoughtful with your own like customized design Halion. So I'm very much looking forward to that. We also have a Season 2 collection of Halions that'll be coming shortly after that. That one is looking very cool from what I've seen so far. Right now, we're super focused on the Build Your Halion collection, so we're not talking too much about Season 2 yet, but I will say it is very impressive in that holding one Space Turian card and 4 Halions will get you a free mint, and that stacks. So for every 1 card and 4 Halions you hold, you'll get a free mint of Season 2. And so that's some of the stuff you have to look forward to. We have a few other things that are surprises in store that you'll actually be hearing about before too long here, but those are the things that I'm able to talk about without getting Alex and Leo, storming in my front door and hauling me away.
Love it. So a lot of good stuff coming there. I have to say real quick, I think Sayak left, but he says, Eric, you got to up your beard game to catch up with Plano and Crypto. Hey, I used to have
bad.
a beard.
I didn't groom it enough today, so I'm glad I got a compliment. Thank you.
It's funny. I had last year a beard that came down below my shirt line, and it just was so out of control, man. You know, I just have like cribbing. You guys can get a little bit of shape and form. Mine was
Yeah.
like, you know,
Mine's a little unseemly, so I'm glad I got an approval. But yeah,
yeah,
I usually have it a little better, and it was longer before, though it probably wasn't kempt when it was a little longer too. But
it's
yeah.
funny.
My beard care routine is very similar to that you might find in homeless people. I just let it do its thing.
Very nice.
Well,
It
see,
just
but
it
yours
just
is
does what
dark
it does.
though. When your hair's light like mine, and there's one that's coming out here, you know, doing its own thing, exiting the highway. That's the one you see. You don't see the rest of it, you know. So,
True.
yeah, I would get them going. Anyway, I thought that was funny. There was one. Marty said, let's see, never really. No, who was it that said? Someone was talking about card games and why that's. So I'm actually okay. Max Playboy. I'm actually more excited about the card game than I am the racing game. Old school monster collector. Yeah, this is super exciting. Now I will be fully transparent with you guys. We do not have the mechanics on lock, so that is. I know that 3000, who is our Mint dev, he's working on the blockchain interaction side on the utility, and then he's got some game devs that are coming to build the UI, the actual interface for us. But as far as the mechanics, you know, I think we have a very basic concept. That here's the trick: we can't make it so that you have to have like 30 cards to play. You know, because the entry to that is so high that you know, it kind of opens up this. Okay, well then, how do we deal it? You know, are we dealing a hand of cards that are similar to the collection but are not the actual NFTs based on the NFTs you hold? You know, I've seen a lot of discussion about it. It's not that easy. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And so that everyone knows here, I don't know, maybe the OSS guys are going to come after me too, but so the concept is that we have two fleets. OSS has their fleet, we have our fleet, and we really are striving to make an even number of rarities. So it's not like OSS is going to, you know, have all the valuable NFTs, or we do. So there's tiers of these things, or I guess classes of ships, and the art's going to be incredible. I mean, you guys know, you've seen SB, and actually Akshay is developing, creating some of our ships too, which he's never done some of our actual NFTs. He does art around our NFTs. So that's going to be super fun. I know OSS, their designer, I don't know if his name is supposed to be out there, but he speaks Spanish in art, and SB speaks Spanish. So that's been great for them to collaborate. But it's going to be the two fleets, and so we know the art is going to be amazing in and of itself and can sustain value in the NFT. But bringing this whole game concept to it and tying in Halions and Zeppers just makes it so much better. So
There's definitely a discussion to be had about what needs to be on chain against what doesn't need to be on chain, because like not everything has to be, right?
right,
So you could have a system where you were talking about having an NFT kind of dictates like what you get in the game, right? So let's say you've got a fighter class ship, and a fighter class ship, when you've got it like equipped in game, generates, let's say, one laser blast and one turbo boost or something, you know, and those aren't NFTs in and of themselves, but they're kind of abilities inherent to the card or the
yeah,
ship that you have. So there's a lot of fun like keyword stuff that we can do, and a lot of fun like mechanical stuff. And what's the most important to know about this is it's going to be like a living thing. So it's going to be, you know, an evolution over time. There will be new mechanics introduced as time goes by, because this is essentially like another development track that we're starting. This is effectively another sub team that is made up of both OSS folks and Prosperia folks and new people that we're bringing in for this. So yeah, it's gonna be really fascinating to watch this kind of develop over the course of the next, you know, months and then years, because as with everything, this is kind of a long-term situation.
yeah. And I so I guess in the short, so if you're wondering, no, you do not have to buy 100 of these to actually be competitive in any sense, so there's, I think we're probably a week or two from really being able to get down into the guts of the mechanics, and we have time. We're not trying to rush this thing out like next week, but I just want to make sure that it's out there. If you see if any of you listening or watching or seeing any of these questions in Discord, the short answer is no, you're not. Just owning half the collection is not the only way to play the utility side of things.
And ideally, we will have some layer of it that you don't need an NFT to interact with, right?
Yeah.
So that there will be a solid user basis outside of, only the NFT holders, because that's one of the problems with a lot of these collections is they're very, very insular. It's like, well, if I don't have this NFT, I can't play the game. So that's going to immediately limit your potential audience to only holders. And that's not really what you want. You want to use it as kind of an onboarding method for people. So you have like a free to play or free to interact with layer, and then an additional layer on top of that of like NFT ownership and integration for like the value proposition of it. Just so you guys kind of know where we're coming from with it. Where you know where our heads are at.
Yeah, you want to keep that barrier to entry low. You want to make it as friendly to new people as possible. I mean, that's the big thing that we're trying in crypto right now, right? Is to get that user experience and that onboarding super smooth, right? That's the big goal. And yeah, just to echo off of what you were saying before too, about how not everything has to be on chain, right? It's kind of the Cardano ethos, right? Like we're a settlement layer. We don't do all that calculation on chain. There's no reason for it, right? Like that's why we're here. We're smart about how we do things.
Makes it cheaper too from the development side.
Absolutely. And from the user side, because like you don't want to have to sign a transaction for 2 or 3 ADA every single time you interact with something, right? Like you don't want to have to constantly be doing that. You want there to be like at minimum breakpoints where it's like you accumulate so much change in an NFT or like need to record things, and then there's like a milestone moment where it records, so that prevents you from having to do like 10 million transactions constantly. We ideally we want everything to be Web3. Ideally we want everything to be integrated and tied in and tracked and all of that, but the reality of the situation is that when you're developing games, there's always going to be that like centralized that need for like a centralized actor to maintain all of it. So just to build infrastructure with scalability in mind is super important. But yeah, there's a lot of layers to this, and we're certainly trying to approach it from kind of a comprehensive view. Look at what other people have done, mimic success in good ways while pushing innovation and adding our own flavor.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of fun collaboration on just the social media aspect. I know that after we raided the OSS server the other night, which was totally impromptu, by the way, because Blano was like, boy, thanks for the heads up or something like that.
Surprise!
We were having a contest anyway, and I was like, just at the last second, I was like, you know what? F it, let's go over to the OSS server and do the contest there. And so that's kind of where that, but it ended up being really fun.
It was.
So it kind of, I think Blano and a couple others were kind of like, man, we really should maybe reach out to other servers and have OSS and Prosperia occasionally go crash their server. Let them know ahead of time. I mean, it was less surprising to you because we're already kind of working together. If you're just some random team, or server, you're gonna think we're trying to spam you, right? But I think if we reach out to other servers and say, hey, we're just going to show up within this hour and do some giveaways and leave, but have a lot of energy during that time there, I think that could be a lot of fun. So, and there's other things we can do too, but just kind of that, it just shows that good collaborative spirit of, hey, let's just go have some fun. And nobody felt taxed or felt that it was laborious. It was just, hey, we're just going to jump over and have a blast. So,
yeah, it was fun. It was a good, time to make some jokes and, commingle, the communities and all. It was really cool. And I mean, your community is on point, especially with that gift game, man. Like, wow, like
Yeah. And we don't
the
even
like
have
Space World one with the
we don't even
cards,
have
like,
characters yet,
yeah.
man. I mean, imagine when we have characters, because right now
Yeah.
you've got to put like they have to make a logo up or use a multipass or something as a face, but yeah, our Prosperia's community, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think we have for as small as we are, probably one of the most energetic group of people that I've seen in the CNFT space. I mean, it's amazing. 24/7, you find real, legit, good conversation happening in our server all the time. So I think, having the being that you're so into sci-fi lore, you have great art. You got a good team that's working hard on long-term utility. And there's just not a lot of drama in our teams. It's kind of just very straightforward. I completely went out of focus there. In our team, everybody's kind of just doing just going. Kripman doesn't say, "Hey, I'm going to do this." He just goes and does it. And that's the way we function, and it's great.
things.
Everybody's just going.
That's what you want, right? You want that collaborative, like yes and kind of improv style, right? Like don't contradict, just add to it, just go
Yeah.
and build your own, right? Like, yeah.
Yep. So I'm super excited. Again, this is called, if you're just joining in or watching a replay, listening, Universal Conflict is what we decided. We had, I don't know, like 30 or 40 names being kicked around.
At least.
Not for very long, but I think the lore of Prosperia is that we accidentally ended up in the Andromeda Galaxy, which, because Outer Space Society is aliens, which is kind of funny because I guess Prosperians would be aliens to the Halions, right?
Yeah.
But it gives us a lot of lore. Where do they come from? What galaxy? Don't you have some lore of them leaving Earth, or isn't there some Earth-based lore there?
They go to Earth. Yeah.
To Earth,
They kind
okay.
of, yeah, they're kind of, they usually like to sneak in and infiltrate and be super stealthy and kind of take over via culture. So it'll be real fun to see what makes them take up arms and actually go to war, right? And start conflicts, that are more physical. So that'll be fun to play with.
That explains my favorite Halion's jacket. You got to blend in.
Mhm.
I expect them to have the hype beam. You hit them and it like dresses up their ship real fancy.
Love it.
That
Well,
would be fun.
super excited about it, man. I think we're just getting started. So let's see what I want to make sure we're answering. If you guys have questions, our chat's delayed. I'm not watching Discord. I don't know, Kripman, are you watching Discord? Are we missing anything?
Not as far as I've seen. I see Shanky asking a couple times if it's P to E. I mean, I think first and foremost, we're going to focus on trying to build something that's fun to play and interact with. Any amount of P to E that would be added to it would definitely be done in as careful a manner as we can. Because kind of once you let that out of once you open that can of worms, there's no closing it. So that's definitely something we're interested in looking into in it, is the PDE aspect and how to bring value to something like that. Is it leveling up your ships and then being able to resell your ship in the form of the NFT that you've already got? Is it trophies and things that you'll win that have excess utility outside of just the game and in the greater Prosperia and OSS ecosystem? So it's definitely a model that we're trying to develop for, but more than anything, we want to do something that's fun. We want to have a game that's fun to play.
Yeah, and you got to remember that. So Zeppers are really close to earning Prosper in and of themselves. Every epic, and then as you just heard, Halions have a lot of things coming and happening for them on the utility side. So both teams already have really intense utility that we're building out for collections surrounding this. And like Kripman said earlier, this is kind of a living, breathing type utility that we can massage things in and out of as needed as time goes on. So Big question here. Why is Blano so darn handsome? There's a lot of stuff going on with appearance here, apparently.
I appreciate it. You guys are wonderful people who lie very well, and I
I was
appreciate it.
I was expecting everybody in the CNFT space to be like a troll. I'm not gonna lie, but like everybody I've gotten on voice chat with, it's like, why are you so pretty? Like, what is
Have you
happening
seen
here? I
our
was
founders?
expecting.
I feel
I
like a
don't think
troll,
so.
man. They're like models. They're like German supermodels, man. I look like a hideous cave troll by comparison. So I
That's funny.
appreciate all of the flowers people are metaphorically throwing at my feet,
That's
because I
so
do
funny.
not feel like the pretty one in our project.
Blue Dane says crashing OSS servers like a flash mob. Yes, it was, for sure. So we got Shanky's question there. Federation specialty. Okay. We may have missed something earlier, but of course, you all know, jump into either of our servers. Again, go to universalconflict.space, and you can join both servers directly from there and get to both websites. We are building a team page and about page for that, which will show you everyone who's directly involved in the Universal Conflict project from both projects. So all that stuff is coming. So you can expect that website will expand pretty soon. Blano and I, when we get a chance, we'll start working on some lore. And I know Bjorn and a few others really want to get into the mechanics of things. So as we have things that we can put out there and start talking about more, we'll put them on the website. You'll see announcements in both servers. And then I would imagine here soon, we'll get to start seeing some sneaks of some art. So, and some of it may come out on their server and some may come out on ours. So be sure that you're watching both servers and plugged into both communities, because I think both are just very much rowing the boats in the same direction. And and also, absolutely, I'm telling you, I think I don't have JPEG store up, but I think there's like 40 Space Chariot cards for sale. So if you want to get whitelisted, you have to have a Space Chariot card and you have to have a multi-pass. So, don't get caught without a Space Chariot card when there's none listed, because I'm sure there's some people in chat right now that have one waiting to put it for sale for when that happens. So, if you have a little bit of ADA, I think they're good, really good price right now. Make sure you grab one of those, one of each, any multipass and any Space Chariot card. Doesn't have to be an FE, doesn't have to be an elite, and just hold on to those, and that makes sure that you're guaranteed right up front on the whitelist side. So, anything else you want to add, Blano or Kripman?
No, just that we're very, thankful and happy to be a part of this, and I really appreciate you guys working with us on this one, and couldn't be prouder to be your partners in this, and very much looking forward to everything we have coming.
I think the feeling is definitely mutual. And so the two founders, we'd love to try and lock down an interview. Hopefully we'll do that maybe 2 weeks, or, we'll kind of collaborate, and maybe 2 weeks will be better, because we might have quite a bit more detail pulled together. Yeah. And then we can hear their stories as well. So here over the next couple months, what's that?
A lot of people are traveling next week for CNFTCon as well. So it's going to be a bad week
so
to kind of like try and do events and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll aim for a couple weeks from now and get into the stories of the founders of OSS and give you updates on the projects. So is CNFT, what's going on Tuesday night next week?
Well, next week, like CNFTCon doesn't start until I think Thursday or Friday. But a lot of people are like traveling to Vegas. So it's just going to be, a situation where a lot of people are going to be very involved in that. I'm actually super excited for CNFTCon because Charles Hoskinson's going to be there, and it has always been a dream of mine to meet him. So hopefully I get to do that. But I'm also very excited for CNFTCon to be over, because I feel like it's been eating up a lot of bandwidth in the space lately. I feel like a lot of the big projects have been, really focused on their presence there, really focused on what it's going to take to get all their shit to the con, what they're going to do while they're there, how they're going to interact with everybody. So I'm really excited to kind of move past that. Like, I'm already tired of it. It's like, I'm sick of, like, let's move on. Let's go to the next thing. But I guess I'm not the most patient person in the world.
That's
So,
funny. That's how I am with conferences in general. I've been to many, not NFT related, but it's super exciting until it comes right down to that week or two before. And then it's like, it just gets a little overwhelming. But I think it'll be great. And I envy you for getting to meet Charles, man. I have such mad respect for him and his vision and this, everything that's been created here on Cardano. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Again, I apologize for that blank couple minutes at the beginning. When we put an announcement out tomorrow with the video, I'll make sure and say, hold fast, when you start the video, because we definitely kick into it. But thank you all for hanging out with us. Cripman, will you be traveling next Tuesday, or will you still be home?
Next Tuesday I'll be around. I am leaving Thursday.
Okay.
I think I'm leaving at like 4:30 a.m. Thursday, and then I'll be in Vegas like 11 o'clock or so, I think. And then I'll be there for several days, and then I'm continuing to travel. I'm going to North Carolina for some stuff, so I'll be gone for a while. But it's just is what it is.
Well, we'll definitely do a stream next Tuesday night then, and jump into the OSS server, say hello to Blano. We'll plan another raid here pretty soon. It'll be a lot of fun. Blano, Cripman, thank you guys, everybody watching, listening. Thank you so much. Until next time, we'll check in with you next Tuesday. Outside of that, see you in the servers, and we'll go from there.
All right, thank you guys.